German television is proud to present, live as our guests in Rockpalast, Roger Chapman and the Shortlist.
Well, today I'm talking to Tim Hinckley, who was the musical director and keyboard player on the 2 Roger Chapman shows that Repertoire are issuing on DVD. Hello, Tim.
Hi, Michael.
Talking to me from Nashville. The 2 shows that we're putting out are Hamburg in 1979 and Essen in 1981. Now, the Hamburg one came from a radio show recording that had already been made, is that right?
That is correct, yeah. The show that we did in the Markthalle, I think it was the first show that we had done in Hamburg promoting Chapo's album. It was just one of those magic nights. And the guys from Rockpalast were there, and they loved it, you know, and said, hey, we want to film it. Well, of course, they couldn't film it because the show had been done. So we repeated the show. The only difference being that Mel Collins, the sax player in the first band, had left, and we had Nick Pentelo. But and it was a good show as well. I don't think it was as good as the first show, but you know, I'm nitpicking really. That '79 Rockpalast show was in the middle of the second tour, I believe, and so you know, the band had sort of got it back together. Chapo had already sort of formulated the set, so it was a little less improvised and a little less balls, probably. You know, it was a little more settled. But it was a good show. I mean, Chapo was really on his form at that time, and you know, definitely top of his game. So it was a good show.
Keep forgetting that you don't love me no more. Keep forgetting that you don't want me no more. Keep forgetting about the heartbreaking night, heartbreaking thing that you said. About these stupid old feet, they just hang around your street like they've done so time before.
Okay, now you originally put the band together, I believe.
I did indeed. Chapo had called me and said, look, that he'd recorded a solo album and he needed a band to go out and promote it, and the people that played on the album were not available, or I don't quite know what went on there. Yeah, I put that band together. I called Clem, who I'd played with in Humble Pie, and Jerome I was good friends with, a bass player from Detroit who had played with The Real Thing. Actually, I think he produced The Real Thing too. And Mel Collins, of course, and myself. And we found this drummer called Leonard Stretching, who was from America as well, and who was a great drummer. We listened to the record. I told Chapo, I said, look, you had all these backing vocals all over it, I mean, covered, and I said, we probably need a couple of girls, you know, to do this. So we got a couple of girls in, and that band was pretty tight.
Don't get in. Get out, you gotta earn it, money. Can't get out if you ain't got any. Said you can't get in. Said you can't get in. No, ain't you got no soul? About 2-3 hours, then shout the blues, so that you lose control. Now you can't get in. You gotta knock, 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 1, 2, 3 times, or you don't get in. Don't get in.
We did the UK tour with that band. I believe there's now some tapes out from the shows, probably taken off the board, PA board. And it was a really good band. It had a lot of fire in it, and it was a great band. And yeah, when of course we started to do that, the German tour, Clem was the odd one out in a way. I mean, he was a great musician, Clem, and he played great. But I don't think he quite got on with that situation. UK tour, and we got Jeff Whitehorn in. But it was a rocking band, that's for sure. Probably, you know, one of the best bands Chapo's ever had.
Hey, Sam Stone, you leave me alone. You could bring me wine.
Okay, and the second gig in '81. By that time, your great friend Boz Burrell had come in, and the girls had gone. There were certain changes that happened.
Gosh, it had changed quite a bit by then. Jerome had gone. I believe was Stretch on that show, or was it Henry Spinetti? I can't remember now. Yeah, the girls had gone. Polly Palmer came in playing synthesizers and vibes, and Steve Simpson on second guitar and vocals, and played mandolins and all sorts of things. And that band was a real... there was a lot of improvisation going on with that band. One of the great things about Chapo was you could throw him a song, you know, if you were in the middle of something, like a solo section or something, and you started playing a song that he recognized, an old rock and roll song or an old blues song, he would just launch into it. And a lot of that went on with that band. It was very improvisational, and came and of course it created some great music. Was captured, I think, on that album. She was. She
was a gypsy, she was a bride, she was a concubine down in old Port Said. He was a lawyer, he was a thief. He was a taxman, not getting any ready. She was a gambler, she was a mess. She made a profit down on the South Africa.
The thing about the Rock Palace in Essen was that it was, those Rock Palace shows went on for a weekend. So they'd go Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and they were big shows at the time. People would have parties with projectors on the walls with the show going all weekend. It went out to over 20 million people, and we were on with, I think, Mink DeVille. Gosh, who else was on that bill? Was it the Grateful Dead or was it ZZ Top? Can't quite remember. But anyway, we were all in the same hotel. There was lots of raving going on. We were the last act on that show, and by the time we got on stage, which was the early hours of the morning, we were pretty shattered. I mean, we had been going at it all weekend, and it really was, we were out of steam. So it wasn't the best show. I've watched it, and we were a little below par. I mean, it's still good. It wasn't one of our best shows. And that can happen, you know, it's a one-off. It just happens that maybe we weren't on the top of our game on that day. And in retrospect, it probably doesn't notice to most people. It's probably only the people that played in the band that can tell from night to night what's a better night and what isn't. But it certainly was a big moment in time. That was a big show.
And it was the show that sort of turned Roger Chapman into a superstar in Germany, which he remains today.
Well, yes. I mean, you know, those 2 years, 79, 80 and 81, we slammed around Germany constantly, went into East Germany and built up a great following. It was a good band, you know, and it was, you know, capable of playing a 2-hour set and keeping the audience completely on their feet for the whole 2 hours. And it paid off.
And I mean, he did it all without having...
Going out there today.
Right, he did it all without resorting to the family back catalogue, with the exception of Burlesque.
Burlesque is one of my favourite songs. It's a great song written by Charlie Whitney, and I played it with Charlie and Roger when I was with the Streetwalkers, which was the first band they formed and the first album they did after Family broke up. And plus, that song was all about the Speakeasy Club, where we all hung out in the 70s and After Hours Club. So we had a big interest in that song. Yeah, it's a great song. I love that song to this day. It's a really interesting structure, too.
Well,
one of the few family songs that we did. I think Roger was trying to get away from doing the family stuff, which he succeeded in doing. Although I hear now that he's reformed for some shows, without Charlie Whitley, I might add, which is odd because he was a big part of family. But yeah, that was Burlesque, great song, and to this day, I still love that song. It's a good song.
So what is it exactly about Chapo that you think appealed to the German audience so much?
Well, he comes over as a pretty macho guy. He's a big guy, and, you know, he was famous, I believe, in the 60s and 70s, you may or may not know, for his wild antics on stage. He would throw microphones and tambourines around, and, you know, I remember at one show we were doing, and his microphone kept feeding back, and he looked over at the sound mixer on the side of the stage, who was standing there smoking a cigarette and talking to a girl, taking no notice of what was going on. And I saw him pick the mic stand up and launch it straight at the sound mixer over my head, and I thought, I hope that mic cable is long enough to not pull it down so that it lands on me, and landed on the desk, on the monitor desk on the side of the stage. The guy was absolutely gobsmacked. But that, you know, Chapo could fly in a temper and do stuff like that. Not so much off stage. His offstage antics, he was very quiet and kept himself to himself. But once he got on that stage, he was pretty wild, and I think that appealed to the Germans a lot. You know, our audiences were sometimes a little more male-dominated than female-dominated. I used to say to Chapo sometimes, can we do some more romantic songs so we can get more girls? But, yeah, and that sort of bravado and, you know, his spontaneity, the fact that, you know, you could throw the opening chorus to Burlesque at him, I mean, he'd launch straight into the song, you know. He'd go with the flow, and plus, you know, we used to do two-hour shows, sometimes 2.5-hour shows, and I think they like that in Germany. I think the German psyche, you know, they like those long rock shows, or they did at the time. I mean, I'm not sure about the scene today, but, you know, he was well loved by the Germans. You know, they liked his style a lot.
Okay, well, finally, Tim Hinckley, and thank you for your time. Are you happy to see these two shows come out on DVD? Is it a good thing, do you think?
Oh, yeah, definitely. It should be out there. I'm a great fan of getting everything out. I don't think anything should be left on the shelf. John Lennon, I remember saying that one time, I don't leave anything on the shelf. And if you remember when he passed away, there wasn't a lot left on the shelf. No, I think it's good to get it out. It's history. It's, you know, and it's a good example of the two great Shortlist bands, the original Shortlist and then the more jazzier improvisational Shortlist. It's a really good example, and I think that those are, yeah, it's classic stuff, you know, and it should be out there for people to see, definitely. I look forward to seeing it all myself.
Thank you very much indeed, Tim.
Okay.